Okay. Just let me know when you're ready, bro, and then we can start at the beginning, or what do you want?
Yeah, just start from the beginning. Fuck it.
Okay. Just let me know when you want me to push, and then we'll go.
Okay. Push it in 3, 2, 1 now.
I've seen investment committees that'll meet maybe once a week, twice a month, maybe it's only once a month. They meet, they have properties or projects or ideas brought forward to them from different members, or maybe it's outside analysts that bring it together. And that committee has to sit in a room and they have all their checklists and due diligence and analytics that they're going to decide yes or no on a deal or project that they're going to do. These are the core of your team, the core of your expert investor, this circle. It really gets broken down into your investment committee on how they decide on deals.
Bridger, how would you compensate people on an investment committee?
Typically, they are compensated based on performance, right? You want them to look at 1,000 deals and they can pick out the one best deal out of 1,000 deals. So you'd like to have their compensation tied to the performance of the deal. So typically I see either a rev share, profit share, or equity given, and then sometimes with a base salary or something like that, to investment committee members where their salary, their dollars are tied directly to the performance of the fund.
So, because if we have other people who want to go in our, which I don't think so, not in the beginning, we're not like, because we could have people that are on the Discord, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So guys, let's talk a little bit about that real quick. Just real quick here. So let's go on Discord. Let's do an example. So for us, obviously, we would do performance-based for ourselves, right? What the hell? Oh, okay. Performance-based, right? Where like say where each of us, we do performance-based. Maybe we can like for like me and you, we could even like log into the same account. Maybe we can use one account. I can use like the FTX. Well, actually, I don't know if I could just use you like or whatever. I think it might be better if we could have the same account or maybe not. That we could just kind of log into it and have everything kind of be easier.
Right.
Or you can log into mine, whatever, or we can have it separated. Okay, investors get paid off performance. So we would get paid 70% of the fee. The investors, the other people, the LPs, limited partners are people we get money from. That's limited partners. The general partners is us. We get 70%. And they get 30%. $30 to 50%, like it just depends. Whatever. If we see that people aren't down for 30%, like nah, fuck that, we don't want it. And we start pitching a lot of people, like nah, we're good. And then all of a sudden, we can say, oh, why not? It's just and then we can like change our pitch and we can go 50%. Fuck it, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Just try that. Remember, we're only playing with small money with these people, so that way, just tester. Okay. And if we had so let's give you an example. So let's say we got people who are good with NFTs, we could give them a certain, and let's say they want to do it, we could, we can probably set aside some money for them, and then, they get a cut out of it. You know what I'm saying? Maybe, what would be a good cut for them? You know what I'm saying? Like, let's say if we, oh yeah, so. But I don't think we should talk about that because I don't think we would bring anyone in, right? Like, do you guys trust bringing anyone in? I don't think so. Like Jason.
Oh yeah.
No,
I mean.
What do you think? No, go ahead, tell me.
I mean, as far as like bringing more people in on what we're doing right now, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, like let's say we end up raising $10,000, then like, oh shit, we can give $1,000 to, we can let one of these guys trade 1,000. I don't think I would, because I don't think they're like that. I don't think like, okay, NAS 100.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we can play it by ear,
Yeah, I personally think no, because I just don't. Like if I saw them super consistent on it and everything like that, then yeah, but I don't
Well,
think
things
that
can
would-
change. Things can change as we pick it up. You know, maybe they can start stepping it up, and then they start stepping it up. They build our confidence. Then we can kind of reevaluate that later. You know.
All right, cool. So in the meantime, we'll just do like this then, 70 and 30 then.
Cool.
And then others.
Yeah, I mean, we'll just base it based on
30, 30,
on,
30, 40.
on how on when it goes. You know.
Yeah. All right, cool. Let's do like this. Other. Because that's how a lot of other. Okay. Anyways, all right. So. Okay. Oh, what's this next one? You want to do the next one? Let's structure a syndication deal for your fund.
Yeah, give me a second. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. How to structure a syndication deal for your fund? Okay.
Or I don't know. It should just go to the next one on your screen, so we can just click. Right? Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Just let me know.
Yeah. Okay. Ready. Go.
Hey guys, welcome back. So in this episode, we're going to talk about specifically how to structure a syndication deal. If you've seen previously our fund launch formula method, how you can build a track record through syndication deals. That's great. Sounds awesome, Bridger. I want to set up a syndication deal, but I don't know exactly how to structure it and go about doing this. Now, typically for most people, their first, what I call fund or first time raising money, I would say syndicates are usually the best way to go. They're easier to set up. You can get things done a lot faster. It helps you prove and build a track record for yourself. If you don't have a track record, if you're like me, people like us, right? We don't have this 20 years of Wall Street experience to lean on. We don't have this crazy, incredible XYZ pedigree or MBA, whatever, from some school. We have to work. And so syndications are a great way to build a track record. And even if you do have that stuff, a syndication also helps you get your feet off the ground and get running. Now, when I first started out and I was learning about funds, something that confused me a lot was the differences between syndications and different types of funds and what they were. So you can see on the board right here, we have a few different structures that you can choose from. Now in this video too, you can choose, right, what you want to do. Up here, both of these structures are going to be fund structures, okay? Actual fund. And this is your general partner, limited partnership structure. You guys have seen that before. The GP manages the limited partnership with a fund. Limited partners invest into the limited partnership. The general partner manages that fund or limited partnership. If you guys have seen me do these boxes before, I'll draw them out, right? You've seen this before. This is your limited partnership. This is your general partner, that's you. And then all your LPs, your limited partners, will invest into that limited partnership. And then that limited partnership goes and makes investments down here, buys up assets. And then when those assets make money, they flow to the limited partnership and then they split between the general partner and limited partners. Is that making sense? That's the most common way to set up a fund is this general partner limited partnership structure. In a close second, a lot of funds are now doing this more and more, is an LLC type of fund, okay? This LLC fund, you've seen this before too. Just a little recap, if you're okay with that, okay? LLC funds have Class A shares and Class B shares. Class A shares are your investors, and Class B shares are your management team. You call them Class A because your investors feel great. They have Class A shares, they feel awesome, but in reality, the Class B shares manage and control the fund. That's you as the fund manager. You're in the Class B shares. And then finally below, we have our syndication deals. And I'm going to talk about a lot about this today and how to structure these. But typically, this is just a simple LLC, limited liability company, okay? We'll talk about that structure here. Now, where I get confused, where I was confused for a long time was this, okay? So you have these three, you have 1, 2, and then 3. These guys is an LLC. This is also an LLC, but just structured differently. And they have Class A shares and Class B shares. And they usually have a PPM and an operating agreement. And then a general partner limited partnership, they have their PPM, private placement memorandum, and an LPA, limited partnership agreement. But also the GP right here can also be an LLC. This entity isn't called a general partnership entity. It's an LLC, but it's now titled and labeled as a general partner for limited partnership. And that's if that helped a little bit, that confused me so much. Is if you say, oh, I have an LLC for my fund, it, like that doesn't mean anything, right? It could be option number one, the general partner limited partnership. It could be the LLC Class A share, Class B share fund. You have still have a PPM, still about the same amount of money to set up. Very expensive to do those types of funds, unless you follow the fund launch formula. Number three, though, is the syndication is a simple LLC. Okay, so I'm gonna leave these up here, and we'll kind of be referencing these back and forth throughout today's episode. So a lot of people, this is kind of the split between the fund model up top, and on the bottom you have syndication deals. Now, if you guys remember back to the fund launch formula, okay, I'm going to draw those circles out, the boxes. Step number one is you find an amazing deal, right? Deal. Two is you frame the deal out. Three is you go and pitch investors. And then four is you set up your legal docs. Okay, that is the lean. This is the best way to launch a fund. We have dozens of students launch funds this way. That's how I launch my funds. A lot of our mastermind mentors follow the same process of pitching, find the deal first, frame it out, and then pitching investors. Don't do your legal docs yet to follow this. Now, this breaks up into, you can either choose the fund model or syndication model. Okay, so on your legal docs, you can decide to do the general partner or LLC model or the syndication loop. Okay, and the syndication loop is essentially the best example I have is like real estate flippers. Real estate flippers, these guys they're masters at syndication deals. So what they do is they find a great house. They love it. They go pitch their investors. They follow the fund launch formula. They frame it out. They pitch investors to get money. They set up an LLC, and the investors put money to the LLC. They do the deal, and then everyone gets paid back out, and all the investors get paid out. Okay, and then they'll go find another deal, set up a new LLC, new investors, or maybe the old investors got to renegotiate, set up the deal, and they do it again. The fund model is beautiful because you have to set it up once. You raise money once, and you can do as many deals as you want up here. So you can find the deal, frame, set up your money once, set up your legal docs once, and then you can do as many flips and let's call it house flips, as many house flips as you want. Pretty cool model. We have a whole episode, fund versus syndication. You guys can walk through that. I just wanted to recap for a second. So Bridger, back to our thesis, our topic for today. How do I set up these syndication deals? What does it look like inside of here? Let me erase this for a second. Okay, so an LLC syndication deal. Now let's go back to the real estate example. We'll use a few different examples for today, but let's go real estate for a second, okay? What you'll do is, let's say you found a multifamily property. It's got, let's call it 10 units in it. You'll go find investors. You still follow the fund launch formula. You find the deal, you frame it out, you pitch your investors. They put money in, you set up an LLC, and everyone putting money in is an equity owner of the LLC. So imagine like a pie right here. Okay, and you are saying, hey, I'm going to own 20% of the pie because I did the work, I set up the deal, I did all of it. And I'm going to put in a little bit of my money. I'll put in probably 5% of the money, but the other 15% I'm taking because I'm doing all the heavy lifting and work. And then you tell your investors there is 80% available pro rata how much money you put in. So pro rata means just percentage of how much money. So if you put in half of the money for this deal, you would get half of the 80%. So you essentially end up with 40% equity. Okay. So 40% equity. And they are truly an equity partner in this deal. This is not like the Class A, Class B shares up here. They are truly equity partners in this deal. You own 20% equity, and let's say your other investors put some money in, blah, blah, blah. They each take like 10% each. Okay. The rest of them, okay? And I'll just put a little squiggly here for the rest of the investors. I'll take 10%. Now they put money in. These guys are equity owners. And on the documents, you have an operating agreement, what's called operating agreement, which in our mastermind course, you guys will have access to. You can download it and tweak it for your purposes. They have an operating agreement that says and you might have to tweak this, but it says that they are full members of the LLC, the entity. They are knowledgeable. They understand the business operations. They're just as liable as you are. And you do that on purpose. If they give you money for the purpose, and let's say, because a lot of people say, well, can the investors give me money in an LLC syndication? I'm going to manage the entire money with my 20% and pay them out essentially like a fund, but not really a fund. If the SEC found out you were doing that, they would come wacky and say, well, it really wasn't a true syndication deal. It was more like an LLC where you had all the voting rights, they had no voting rights, and you were essentially managing their monies and buying and selling securities. Now, I know there are thousands of syndicates that get set up that way every year, and the SEC never finds out. You know why? Because the SEC doesn't get a complaint. The SEC will only really investigate you if you're really big, you're a massive level, or most commonly for guys like us, is you get a complaint from your investor. If everyone's making money and everyone's happy, the SEC is like, great, they have plenty of complaints to go follow up on, right? They don't have enough time to just research every fund. Only when you get a complaint to the SEC is when they'll come follow up. So if one of your investors, if you guys lost money and one of your investors was mad, I gave my money to Bridger, he did terrible with it, it was awful, he lost those money, and I didn't have voting rights. The SEC will come look at that and say, well, you really weren't running a true LLC syndication. You were running more of like this. Step number 2, an LLC Class A shares, Class B shares. And therefore, you fall under the 1940 Investment Company Act. And therefore, you are under a lot of scrutiny and regulation from the SEC. You didn't file your certain documents right. You didn't set it up right. So that all being said, do not bring on new investors in your syndication and say, hey, you're going to be a silent partner and I'm going to do all the management. On paper, you can't say that. Now, between the partners, the understanding could be, hey, you're putting your money in, I'm going to do most of the day-to-day. I'm going to do a lot of the operations. I'm going to do all that. And you're going to be more of a passive investor. So that's maybe word of mouth back and forth. Like that's how it's going to run. But on paper, those investors, this 40%, this 10%, these guys are knowledgeable investors. They understand they are making decisions like you are just as much. They understand what is going on inside of this investment and they are just as liable as you are. That's how you can set up a syndication where you don't need to fall under Investment Company Act because these guys are you're potentially owners of a business, all putting money in together to go do a deal. Is that making sense? Are you guys with me so far? So do not make these guys silent partners on paper. Now, if you want to make an understanding between them and they understand that, that's okay. But when it comes down to it, if you're getting sued, they have voting rights. They can do whatever, they're an equal partner in the business as you are, which comes to my next point of why syndicates are a little bit riskier to set up. Syndicates are risky because these investors over here, if they don't like you, they don't like Bridger is running the syndicate. You know what? We have this 10-unit apartment complex. I don't like how he's running it. They could get together and force you out and push you out. They've got big lawyers. They've got money behind them, obviously. They say, hey, we got a big lawsuit coming your way, or you can just step down and resign. And usually they can butt you out of deals. Now, one way to protect yourself against that on your operating agreement is you do something like this. You say, hey, you have 20%, back to the same example. You'll say this, no person can be voted out unless you have 81% vote. It needs to be a supermajority vote to vote somebody out. So that should protect you. If you have 20% equity, unless you vote yourself out or somehow lose your equity, there's no way that you're kicked out of your own LLC. However, if these guys are big dogs, have huge lawyers, are going to ruin your life, and they really want you out, they might be able to squeeze you out and do an aggressive takeover on the company. Legally, they should be able to do that. But if they're going to run you through it, they're going to run you $400,000 of legal fees. You might just say it's not going to be worth it to go on this battle, on this fight, and I'll just give up the equity and move out. That's why syndications get a little bit scary when you're setting them up. Now, I hope that doesn't deter you from setting up syndication. I think syndication deals are a great way to get started. And most small-time investors, this pool of money is usually family, friend, acquaintance, people in your area. Usually it's not a huge, big, there's not corporate takeover type of people coming together for a syndication deal on a 10-unit apartment complex. They hope they can just put money in, you'll run the day-to-days, and they're going to get a check every 6 months, or every year, every quarter, every month, whatever your syndicate is telling them they're going to receive. And I've actually seen lots and lots of syndicates work out just great, and the investors love it and want to reinvest with you in the future. That's how most, back to our original example of house flippers. House flippers go, they do a flip, they have equity partners, sometimes they have debt partners with hard money loans, they pay everybody back out, and they go, great, that was awesome, let's do another one. And they go set it all up again. They got to renegotiate terms. They got to renegotiate all this value and equity and everything. And they do another deal. They pay everybody else. And that's why a lot of people call this the hamster wheel of syndications. Is it turns into a hamster wheel. It's a great hamster wheel. It makes you some money, but it's hard to really scale. And that's why most people eventually end up scaling through a fund and following the GP, LP, or LLC Class A share, Class B share model to scale, because you only have to raise money once and you're protected from your investors. GP, we talked about this in other videos, but in a GP-LP partnership, your general partner, you could have an investor with $1 billion invested in your funds. And they could call you up, I hate you, Bridger, I don't like what's going on. I want you to sell stuff early, XYZ. They want to direct funding. They say, sorry, you are a limited partner. You are limited in your liability, and you're also limited in your decision-making. We are the experts, the fund managers over this pool of money. And we are going to make investing decisions based on what's best for the fund. The fund is our client, not you as an individual investor. And you'll see that in some of our other videos. Okay, so back to the syndication deal. This is just one example of a way you could set it up. You do a 20% and the rest is available. One of our mastermind mentors, Aaron Wagner, He does most of his deals, he follows this syndicate model. However, what he does is this. He says, instead of doing like a 20% or he keeps 15%, he goes, I'm taking 51%. I'm setting up the deal, and he puts down some money as well. It's not like he's not putting any money in. He puts a little bit of money in, but he says, guys, I'm taking 51%. And people will be like, whoa, what are you doing? You're taking 51%. That's so much. I can't believe you're doing this. And some people will balk at it. He says, well, you can either have 49% of something or 100% of nothing, right? And the returns, I've showed you the returns. With 49% ownership, you're still going to get a fat return. And Aaron says, well, don't worry about what I'm making. I'm setting this whole deal up. I've brought this to you. I'm bringing this deal to you, and this is the offer. There's 49% available. Back to our pie chart, okay? Aaron's going to keep 51% over here, and the 49% is available for investors. So if you put in half of the money, you would take 24.5% of the equity. And he usually raises money from a handful of different people that slice up that 49%, and they're essentially silent partners, but still follows those same rules where they're equity partners in the deal. And Aaron runs the deal. And the reason he does that is so that these guys can't get together and ever sue him. He says, if he's 51% owner, even with other clauses and events, it's very hard for him to be booted out of his own syndication deal. And that's the way he's been able to scale doing that. Now, I wouldn't recommend that on your first syndication deal. I think it'd be hard for investors for a first-time person ever doing a deal that you don't have a track record, for you to say, I'm going to take 51%, I think would be a little bit aggressive. I think closer to 20, 15, 30% in that range seems more reasonable. However, the best thing about what we talk about, it all comes down to your market. And if you follow the fund launch formula and you find deals, you frame it out and you take it to investors. And let's say you pitch this 51%, 49, and you go pitch 10 investors, and 9 of them say, get out of my office, it's a bunch of bull crap. But one of them says, yeah, I'll go for it. And they put money in. Well, great. Like, it worked, right? Like it all comes down to your investor base, your marketing base. Sometimes you'll go pitch 10 investors, and all of them will say, no, it's too high. You go, okay. You go back to step number 2, you reframe it out and you say, guys, you know what, you were right. I was being a little bit aggressive. I'm going to come back, and this time I'm going to do 70%. And same deal, same thing, but I want to give you guys more. I think I was wrong trying to take too much. I want to give you guys more. I'm going to take 30%, and 70% is available. It's still a great deal. You guys said it was a great deal earlier, and that's what we're going to do. When you follow the fund launch formula, you can use your investors as market testing. That's the most beautiful thing about it. Now, as you can see, there are pros and cons to syndications versus funds. I already talked about a few of them. The risks are a little bit higher here, but this is probably one of your first deals you've ever done. And so it's okay to take a little bit of risk, and your investors understand that risk, right? And that's why we only go after accredited investors or above. I don't want to take money from small time investors, get their money together. If I lose it, man, it's a bad deal. If I take money from accredited investors or qualified clients or qualified purchasers, even I lose on a small house flip, let's say I lose each person, 15 grand, 20 grand, they're going to be just fine. Those qualified purchasers losing 15 grand, yes, they're going to be mad at you, but they're going to be just fine. They're going to be able to pay for groceries, pay their mortgage or rent, whatever they're doing with their life. It's going to be pretty much the same. And they probably knew going into it, this is a first-time deal. This is a first-time fund manager. I'm going to take a chance on her, him, give them some money. Let's see what they can do. And that helps take a lot of the stress off from me of managing other people's money. Yes, it still is stressful. It's a responsibility that I feel that we as fund managers and syndicate managers need to manage money well, but it takes a little bit of stress off knowing that if it all goes to pot, they're going to be just fine, right? If it was my grandma's money, I would feel even worse, right? My grandma don't even have money to live in her retirement, right? But if it's a credit investor, I don't feel as bad. And then the other thing to take off that pressure is I always invest right next to my investors. I always make sure that I put and I call it a significant portion of my personal wealth, I invest into this deal and fund because I believe in it that much. I have skin in the game. And I'm not just going to walk away from this deal in 3 months if it gets hard, because I am invested with X amount of dollars into this deal. So I hope that helped with syndication deals. Drop comments, questions below if you have them, or in our Facebook groups if you have questions about syndication deals, how to structure them. That's typically what you're going to do. You can use the operating agreements. If you're in our mastermind program, you have the operating agreements, you have all the legal docs you can use and edit and tweak. We have lawyers that can help you out to get this thing structured and off the ground. But the nice thing about syndicates is you can do them very fast. They usually doesn't take that long to set up. Funds will take a little bit longer, a little more time, more lawyers, more filings. Syndicates, you can set up your LLC and operating agreement in a couple of days and have money going and do a deal fast. And that's the beautiful thing about syndication deals, especially for first-time fund managers, is syndications can help you build that track record. My first fund that I call a fund was a syndication deal. Hope that helped you guys, and I will see you on the next episode. Peace.
All right. Cool. want to play the how to raise capital?
Yeah, it's the three-step strategy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just let me know when you want, and then we can get it in there.
All right, ready, set, go. Shit, man.
Hey, welcome back to the show.
Okay.
Today, I'm going to share with my 3-step strategy to constantly find investors and money for our funds or syndications. This is for people that are actually going out and raising the money. Now, we talk in other parts of the program, things like that. We talk about, it's not the how, it's the who. Stop asking, how do I raise money or how do I build a website? Just go find who, right? Who can build the website for me or who can go out and raise the money. Today, I'm actually going to teach you the how, right? How I personally go out and raise money. Now, this being said, there's a lot of ways to go out and raise money. And these are just a few strategies that I use. There's probably a million different ways to do this, but this is stuff that's worked for me consistently to go out and raise millions of dollars for our funds and syndications and do pretty well to constantly be networking and building that list of investors. Now, before we dive into this, by way of announcement, welcome onto the show. If this is your first time watching, welcome in. We actually are just starting a new fun thing for new subscribers and commenters or reviewers on the podcast or on YouTube. We are going to do every month, we are doing $100 giveaways. So we're going to select a few people every single month to do giveaways to. So today we're actually doing our first one. Today is Raging Bull. So if Raging Bull is on here, we're going to reach out to you. You reach out to us if we don't get in contact with you. You got a $100 gift card today that we're giving to you. If you want to win on future videos, come subscribe on the YouTube channel and comment below and say, hey, I want to win the next one, or let me in, or figure something out, and we'll make sure to follow up with you. Sound good? Okay, now back to the topic. Raising money, how to constantly get deal flow. A few days ago, somebody asked me this question, Bridger, how do you consistently find investors? And you guys know my backstory. I didn't go to Harvard. I don't have the Ivy League degree. I don't have the crazy pedigree, Vanderbilt family, whatever. How do you constantly find rich people to give you money? And it's one thing for them to give you money. It's another thing to find rich people, to pitch them, to get in the room, all that kind of stuff. I've tried to boil it down to 3 simple steps to try to make it easier for people to think about. Okay, so let's kick it off. Number 1, go where wealthy people are. Sounds simple, a little bit harder to put into practice, right? To find and meet wealthy people, you got to go where wealthy people are at. So number 1, first thing to do is write down all the places where you think wealthy people would hang out. Now, there's 2 strategies to get into those places where wealthy people hang out. Okay, these are charity events. These are entrepreneurship events. These are season tickets in a box seat to an NFL game or a Utah Jazz. I love the Utah Jazz. By the way, the Utah Jazz are crushing it. We got to give a shout out to the Utah Jazz. Absolutely murdering it out in the league. We'll see if it can maintain and hold up throughout the season. Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert, big shout outs to those guys, crushing it going into the All-Star weekend. All right, back. I digress. Okay, that's where wealthy people hang out. They're hanging out in the Porsche club or the Ferrari club of your state or area. So there's 2 ways to get into those groups and meetups. Number 1 is you can work your way in, right? You do, and it's in the name. You got to work your way in. You got to work connections. You got to work relationships. You got to provide value. Usually working your way in takes quite a bit of time. The other way is to buy your way in. Okay, for example, the Ferrari club. You buy a Ferrari, you're in the club. Okay, that's a pretty easy way to get into the Ferrari club of Utah, or the Ferrari club of South Beach, Florida. Another example is you buy your way into certain charities, charity events, or political events. By donating to someone's charity, it raises some eyebrows. Oh, who's that guy that's donating? Another way you can do it is mastermind groups. I don't say this lightly, but I've spent around $50,000 in the last year for mastermind groups. And I do that because I pay to get into rooms with other wealthy people. I just went to a mastermind group. It was $30,000 for each person to show up. When you walk into that room, every single person there has paid $30,000 to be there. It's a pretty good room to be in, right? These guys must have a decent amount of disposable income that they can maybe put into my fund. Okay, so work your way in or buy your way in. And sometimes you can do a hybrid of both, where you kind of buy your way into a smaller group and work your way up through that group. We'll touch on this in just a minute on how to actually work the room. Okay, so number 1, though, get where wealthy people are. And just to give a few examples, I mentioned them earlier, charity events are really great. Political events. I mean, everybody's heated about politics. If I need to be a Democrat today, I can be a Democrat today. If I need to be a Republican tomorrow, I can be a Republican tomorrow. I just want to get in the rooms with where wealthy people are at, where I can find who's writing big checks and where they're at. Doctor meetup groups, lawyer meetup groups. Where are wealthy people? Are they skiing? Are they out surfing? Are they where? And these people congregate. Where can you go to find them? Okay. In your area right now, there are real estate meetup groups. I guarantee you, every single city in the country has a real estate meetup group. They're going to vary, and by who's going and who's showing up, those potentially could be great places to go. Now, you've gotten to the place though, right? You get into the event, you're in that entrepreneurship event or that VC club event, whatever club you're at. That's the bigger part though. How do I convert someone from a brand new meetup to a potential investor, that someone's going to put millions of dollars potentially into my fund? That's quite a big leap when you're showing up to these events, right? This is something that I've used, and it's one way to do it. There's probably 100 different ways to do it, okay? What I do, I go to an event, and I'm going to share two different examples here. This is the first example if you're going solo. The next example is if you're going with a business partner, okay? So if I'm going solo to an event, number one, as I'm walking to that event, you got to psych yourself out a little bit. This event, people are going to meet other people. No one woke up this morning and said, I don't want to make a friend today, or I don't want to meet anybody when I go to this public event. They're obviously dressing up. They're going there for a reason. Wealthy people they want to meet interesting other people like them. So I go to these events. Number one, so I put yourself in the mood. I'm going to be extroverted. I'm going to go find some people. I go in there and I start meeting people. Now, there's a lot of different ways you can go about this. If you read the book by Oren Klaff, Flip the Script, incredible book, I highly recommend it. He talks about the first meeting. You need to have what he calls a status alignment. So the first 3 to 4 sentences out of your mouth, he goes, are absolutely crucial. For example, if you saw Justin Bieber, you're at this event, Justin Bieber is there. Okay. And you run up to Justin Bieber and you're like, Justin, bro. And I like rip off my shirt and I've got Justin Bieber tattooed on my chest. Right. And I'm like, can I get an autograph? Like, this sounds amazing. Justin immediately goes, okay, this person is a fan. They are, it's hard to say lower, but they're in a fan status in his brain. He's just got to change. Oh, okay. This person is a fan in my status. And yeah, we can take a picture or whatever. Yeah, dude. Awesome. Okay. I think that person's going to invest with somebody at a lower status than them. No, right? They're not going to do that. Now, it's totally different. If I walked up to Justin Bieber and I worked in the music industry, hey, Justin, hey, I actually worked with Warner Brothers and this other group. I helped produce Drake's music out in Canada and Toronto. And anyways, love your stuff. It's awesome. All of a sudden now, my status alignment is to the same industry. Okay. Oh, hey, you're in the music industry. You're not a fan. You're kind of at a similar level as me. You also produce music and you're in the industry, right? Maybe you're not famous, but at least you're in the industry. See how the status changed there just by the first 3 sentences. You could still be a big fan of Justin, but you don't show that there. Now, if you showed up and you were, let's call it, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, and Justin loves him, that would be an increase in status, right? Oh, and he's going to feel like, oh my gosh, I want to meet The Rock, right? I'm not sure who Justin looks up to or whatever, but you kind of understand what's going on there. That's what Oren Klaff talks about in his book. So the first 3 sentences out of your mouth are absolutely crucial for who you're meeting. I was actually listening to an interview the other day. Anderson Cooper on CNN met Bill Gates, and he didn't know what to say to Bill Gates. I mean, this is the richest guy in the world. What do I say to this guy when I meet him? And Anderson Cooper, and put politics aside right now, this is just one person to another, okay? I know a lot of people get heated when I bring up different anyways. Anderson Cooper, right? CNN. He goes, I bet Bill doesn't care much about small talk. So when he met Bill Gates, they were sitting next to each other at a certain event. He turned to Bill, he goes, Bill, what do you think about climate change in the next 10 years? What are your thoughts? And obviously Bill knows who Anderson Cooper is, but even the topic that he brought up, and I believe, I can't quote it directly, but he brought up a certain aspect of climate change. He knows Bill cares about the climate change and what's happening. And I think he asked him something about ion batteries or what he thought the future of that was. And what it showed, number one, is that Anderson Cooper was at least well enough read on a certain topic to ask an informed question that Bill would care about. Okay. I'm not going to go any more depth here, but it's called status alignment in that first meeting. The good thing we have on our side is we run funds. a lot of the times when you meet people, when you say you're a fund manager, you work in private equity or hedge funds, that already puts your status pretty high for most people. Some people might despise fund managers, say you guys are the scum of the earth, but it does, I think in most situations, it puts your status pretty close up there. So when you meet these people, this is what I do. I go, hey, what do you do? What's your name? Well, this is just average. I'm not meeting famous people, just regular people that might be wealthy. What do you do? You retire? Where do you live? What do you like to do? And they always will return the favor, right? Hey, Bridger, what do you do? Well, I run a fund, and my fund does X, Y, Z, and this is what we do. And I'll cut them off. I'll go, hey, actually, this is the line that changed my life. This has led to more investors in my life than anything else. I go, hey, the nature of my business, I get a lot of deals across my desk. I get real estate deals and different investing opportunities, early stage companies. And I always say this, I go, if I have a good deal come across my desk, I mean, you seem like you're an active individual in the investing space. Can I shoot these deals over your way? Just because the nature of my fund, I can't do them, but they're still good deals. Can I send them your way? 9 times out of 10, that person will say yes. Who doesn't like to look at a deal, right? And so I shoot them the deal their way. And what I do at the event, I go, well, let me get your email. Take their email down. I save it. And the next few months, I actually do get a lot of deals because I tell everybody I run a fund, I'm looking for deals. They send to me. I will start forwarding them deals. Over the next month, 2 months, 3 months, I start sending them maybe 1 or 2 deals a week for 3 months. Now they know Bridger as the deal guy. Bridger's the guy that sends deals, and he's got some good investment opportunities. It seems like he's in the game. So over about 2 to 3 months, I'm emailing them. Maybe he'll email back, or he or she will email back. We'll talk about the deal, whatever it is. They may or may not do any of those deals, but they now know me as Bridger's the deal guy. Bridger's the investing guy. And so what I'll do after 2 to 3 months, I'll go, hey, I've got a new deal. It's called my fund. And here it is. And I'll send them my offering. I'll say, hey, I've had this new fund coming out. We have a new round or a raise. If this is in your appetite of investing, I would love to talk to you more about it. If it's not, no worries. I don't want to burn any bridges. But if you're interested in this kind of stuff, can we go to lunch next Thursday and talk about it further? Bam. Right there, I just took someone I met at a party cold to 3 months later, we're sitting down and getting lunch and talking about fund investing. It's a very natural, easy way to convert somebody from a cold lead to someone that might actually invest with you. Is that making sense? So that's if you're solo, okay? And that's something, it's one example of probably a million examples you could use at a party, but that is something I've used over and over again. I ask them if they like looking at deals. Even if someone's rich or poor, everybody always says, yes, I like looking at deals. And so I start sending them deals, and that's where we get it. Number 2, okay, this is if you go in a pair, and I would highly recommend this if you can go to an event with a business partner. And we actually just did this a few weeks ago, me and my business partner. I won't share his name, but this is what we did. We went to an event, a lot of people there, big room, and it's a little intimidating. So I would go up, I'd start to meet people. Hey, what's going on? And I go, wait, you got to meet my business partner. And I start to talk about my business partner across the room, and he's talking to somebody else, whatever he is. And I go, oh, you got to meet him. He does X, Y, and Z. So great. Oh my gosh, he's done all this stuff. I got to introduce you to him. You go, yeah, it'd be great. And I go, hey, and I call my business partner, hey, come on over. And he comes on, he goes, excuse me, he's talking to somebody else. He gets an easy out of that conversation. A lot of times these networking events, you get stuck talking to somebody for too long. It's a little bit awkward to leave. And so you're like, hey, how do we close this conversation? It's a really great exit. You go, hey, come on over. And you invite your business partner over. He goes, hey, Bridger. And he goes, oh, you met Bridger? And he starts to build me up. Oh, Bridger is so great. He does X, Y, and Z. And I go, oh, stop it. Hey, I wanted to introduce you guys. Here it is, blah, blah, blah. And it gives me a great exit to leave. Hey, I'm going to let you guys talk. I'm going to move on. I move on to the next person and start chatting up. Hey, I'm Bridger. What do you do? About 3 minutes later, hey, my business partner's over there. Hey, come on over. And he goes, oh, excuse me, I got to run over and talk to him. Okay, thank you. Really easy exit. And we move from one person to the next.
And you both get a feel for the same person, right?
Yeah.
About an hour, we have circulated the entire room and talked to everybody. And it's very easy to pitch and promote somebody else and for them to promote you, okay? It's very hard to